Vào ngày 23 tháng 8 năm 2012, một buổi lễ tưởng niệm ngày chia cắt Âu Châu được gọi là Black Ribbon Day đã được tổ chức tại đài tưởng niệm các nạn nhân Cộng sản ở thủ đô Hoa Thành Đốn. Cách đây 73 năm, một hiệp ước phân chia Âu Châu đã được ký kết giữa Liên Xô và Đức Quốc Xã. Hiệp ước này còn gọi là Hiệp ước Molotov-Ribbentrop hay Hiệp ước Hitler-Stalin, có tên chính thức là Hiệp ước bất tương xâm giữa Đức Quốc Xã và Liên bang Xô Viết, được ký kết vào ngày 23 tháng 8 năm 1939 giữa Ngoại trưởng G. Keslov Mikhailovich Motolov đại diện cho Liên Xô và Ngoại trưởng Joachim von Ribbentrop đại diện cho Đức Quốc Xã. Một nghị định thư bí mật đính kèm theo hiệp ước quy định các quốc gia Phần Lan, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania và Romania thuộc vùng ảnh hưởng của Liên Xô. Ngoài ra, Liên Xô và Đức Quốc Xã cũng đồng ý phân chia Ba Lan. Điểm chính yếu trong hiệp định là hai bên thỏa thuận cam kết không tấn công lẫn nhau và giữ thái độ trung lập trong trường hợp một trong hai bên bị tấn công quân sự của bất cứ thế lực thứ ba nào. Hiệp định cũng cam kết hai bên không tham gia vào các nhóm thế lực trực tiếp hoặc gián tiếp chống lại phía bên kia. Trong tương lai, hai bên sẽ cung cấp trao đổi lẫn nhau về các tin tức đối với những vấn đề có ảnh hưởng đến quyền lợi của đôi bên. Nghị định thư bí mật cũng quy định Đông Âu là phần lãnh thổ nằm trong phạm vi quyền lợi của Đức và Liên Xô trong trường hợp có sự sắp xếp về chính trị đối với lãnh thổ của các quốc gia này. Nghị định thư cho phép thành lập chính quyền thân Liên Xô tại Litva, Latvia, Estonia và Đông Ba Lan. Phần Lan và Bessarabia đều nằm trong phạm vi ảnh hưởng của Liên Xô. Ngày 1 tháng 9 năm 1939, Đức xâm chiếm Ba Lan và ngày 17 tháng 9, quân đội Liên Xô tiến vào miền Đông Ba Lan. Việc phân chia lãnh thổ của Ba Lan giữa Liên Xô và Đức đã được hoàn thành. Ngày 28 tháng 9 năm 1939, Đức và Liên Xô ký kết Hiệp ước hữu nghị về biên giới. Sau đó, Liên Xô đã sát nhập các nước Baltic, Bessarabia và Bắc Bukovina và một phần của Phần Lan vào lãnh thổ của mình. Hiệp ước bất tương xâm giữa Liên Xô và Đức Quốc Xã mở đầu cho hành động xâm lăng các quốc gia Đông Âu, đồng thời với sự tàn sát dân tộc tại các quốc gia này. Ước tính có đến 17 triệu người bị tàn sát là nạn nhân của Đức Quốc Xã và Cộng sản Liên Xô. Điển hình là Liên Xô mở cuộc tàn sát người Ba Lan tại khu rừng Katyn và Holocaust giết người Do Thái của Đức Quốc Xã. Năm 1987, cộng đồng người Đông Âu tại Gia Na Đại khởi xướng ngày Black Ribbon Day, vận động các cuộc xuống đường tại 21 thành phố ở các quốc gia tự do và Cộng sản. Năm 1989, khoảng 2 triệu người nối tay nhau tại các quốc gia vùng Baltic để tưởng niệm các nạn nhân của Cộng sản Liên Xô và Đức Quốc Xã. Năm 1991, hàng triệu người xuống đường vào ngày 23 tháng 8 tại 56 thành phố ở Á Châu, Âu Châu và Mỹ Châu. Năm nay, Black Ribbon Day được tổ chức tại 6 thành phố lớn ở Gia Na Đại. Tại Hoa Kỳ, Black Ribbon Day được tổ chức tại đài tưởng niệm nạn nhân Cộng sản ở thủ đô Hoa Tỉnh Đốn. Kính mời quý vị theo dõi sau đây.
Working with Congress to enact legislation to designate August 23rd as a day of remembrance, International Black Ribbon Day, for instance, as they have now in Canada, which is law for a number of years, and Europe also has a few years ago determined to reconcile its history, and it's very important, I think, that the U.S. also follows suit. Just before I left for the ceremony, I received a call from the office of Congressman Dan Lundgren from California, who we've spoken with before. He's the chairman of the House Administration Committee, and basically over his watch, they would be able to help us to either enact legislation or to have a commemoration to signify this day today. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that, and we'll certainly be in touch about that in the future. We have a meeting scheduled in a couple of weeks. But to turn it now over to Marina Kaljuran, who is the ambassador from Estonia to the United States. Marina, please.
Welcome closer. On the 23rd of August, on the Black Ribbon Day, to commemorate the victims and to condemn the crimes of communism and Nazism. Because, as was said by Arthur Eggleton, the mayor of Toronto, the city where the idea of Black Ribbon Day was initialed in 1986, the greatest enemy of freedom is silence. So we must speak. Today I would also like to mention those people who spoke on behalf of us when we were not able to do that. Among them was Estonian-Canadian Markus Hess. He was of Estonian origin, he lived in Toronto. In 1986 he was 32 years old, mechanical engineer. He was member of the Estonian Central Council of Canada, and on the 20th of August 1986 Markus said, "We want to do something for the people behind the Iron Curtain, to make their plight known. When awareness is raised, we will start to assist in defending the freedoms we have here." The idea was supported not only by Estonians, Latvians and Lithuanians, it was supported by Americans, Brits, Canadians, Australians, not only people but also authorities of those countries and cities. And in 1986 there were 21 cities all over the world that followed the initiative. Once again, those who could speak did speak on behalf of those who couldn't, as they have done numerous times before that, and as they and we are doing today. And I think it's very symbolic that Markus had his speech on the 20th of August 1986. It was exactly 5 years before. On the 20th of August 1991, Estonia regained her independence. Today we stand side by side, or as we say in Estonia, shoulder by shoulder, in Tallinn, in Riga, in Vilnius, in DC, in Toronto, all over the world, in Tbilisi. But we have to remember that the world is not free yet. And we have to remember that democracy is not everywhere yet. There are still nations and people who can't speak out loud. And it's our moral obligation to speak on behalf of them, to talk about today's day so that it will never be forgotten. And when preparing the remarks, I learned that there is a new tradition that Estonians, Latvians and Lithuanians are going to start tomorrow. It will be a 600-kilometer run from Vilnius to Tallinn. It will start tomorrow at noon, and it will be started by Lithuanian president. On Saturday they will be in Riga, And on Sunday night they will be in Tallinn before Estonian Parliament. So the day lives, not only here in DC, but also back at home. And having said that, I would like to lay the flowers and to light the candles in memory of those. And I would like to thank you all for coming to this event. Thank you. In memory of those, and I would like to thank you all for coming to this event.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carl, dear friends, Marina, Andres, all colleagues. Well, usually we gather this day in Washington, and that was one of the first events for me when I came to Washington 2 years ago. And I always have kind of strange feeling that it's kind of sad. Why? Because, well, while our numbers are growing, like Carl was saying, but it's still kind of just few of us. And those streets are so busy and so noisy. And yesterday I was reading a lot about this first captive nation proclamation that actually took 2 decades to do after Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It was 1959 by President Eisenhower. And it also took more than half a century to erect this important memorial to commemorate victims of communism that killed the biggest number of people on this planet. And I'm always asking why it took so long and why our number of people who is gathering is so small. That is, trying to preach to this comfortable majority around imminent dangers of totalitarian autocratic regimes that are still present. Well, I have some answers. Well, first of all, this is of course semi-brave. But, well, if to be a bit more serious, historically, people of freedom and democracy, they've been always in minority. And even yesterday, reading the last Freedom House report, that after glorious Arab Spring, we still have democracy in 26 countries. And in only 12 countries we have some kind of progress in democracy. So, as our dear friend David Kramer is trying to conclude, we have already living through the period of 6 consecutive years when democracy on global scale is on decline. Okay. It's kind of, as David also concludes, that it's the period when autocracies, not democracies, are on the march. And so what could be our conclusion? Well, we, people of free and democratic nations trying to fight for freedom, we have of course to do everything in order to put freedom and democracy back on track. And we do it in a very different ways. Every day we are fighting and inventing our own priorities and agendas, but here I really want to concentrate on one simple thing that we can do. And referring to what Carl was saying in the very beginning, let's do everything possible that in 1 year, in 2013, during Lithuania's EU presidency, on August 23rd, we are not only commemorating this day in this street, but we go to Congress, we go to Rotunda, the most sacred place in this town, and together with the support of Congress, we commemorate Black Ribbon Day, like it is done from 2003 in European Union by the Declaration of European Parliament, like it is done in Canada, after decision of Canadian Parliament 2 years ago. because America is a beacon of freedom. It's the oldest democracy, and it has to lead by example. And I think that, I hope that Congress will do everything possible that, you know, this day this day when two totalitarian regimes, you know, back in '39 was trying to kill the free world, will be remembered. So let's agree, like, no, not only free embassies, but I think we can really involve a lot of other embassies, a lot of other friendly caucuses in the Congress and communities here, that we will work hard. We will have some follow-up events in Congress, maybe with Heritage Foundation, but we will try to pull our energy to make it possible and to some kind of to commemorate it not only in the street but in Congress. Thank you.
August. It's very sad day in European history. Two regimes, Stalinist Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, struck a deal. Very simple deal on how to influence their interest in Europe. The deal on spheres of influence. In total disregard anything that certainly was there and close to minds of living in European countries. And because of that deal, certainly we have a number of very important dates and very good reasons to meet from time to time. Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and the protocol this pact certainly has not any kind of justification or moral or legal whatsoever. One side actually became parts of Central and Eastern Europe, part of Northern Europe, including Baltic nations. Things escaped that. And I'm very pleased really to be here in Washington today to say just a few words, but those words certainly help illustrate the determination of my country and of this embassy, this ambassador, to do something in Washington to make sure that memory is kept alive and that we dignify and honor the people that perished during my family last century. Thank you, Carl, and thank you so much for thank you.
Danila Dutis from the Lithuanian American community also to say a few words.
Very briefly, when elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. The terrible years that started in 1939 for Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia did not end with the war in 1945. But moved into 5 decades of brutal occupation, deportation, and destruction with scars that extend into the 21st century. Those of us who have never known war find it hard to understand the horror, the terror, the helplessness, the inhumanity that ensued. We can only pay witness as we are doing today. And I'd also like to recall that in 1989, we were able to see how a wonderful unity was developed as the Baltic Freedom Way extended all the way through Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. I'm very happy to hear about the run that's being scheduled, so we can see that out of this horrible act of terror. We're moving forward into the future, and hopefully this will result in something that is uplifting rather than just a day of mourning. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize a special person here today, Damon Wilson. I saw you there. Damon is the Vice President of the Atlantic Council. And I don't know, Damon, if you'd like to say something, perhaps? Okay, wonderful.
Just very briefly, Carl. Thank you, Carl. I'm Damon Wilson, Executive Vice President of the Atlantic Council, and I just wanted to thank all of you for turning out today. The symbolism of this memorial is something that's very important, certainly to all of you, your families, but certainly to my country as well. And I think that it's become far too easy to forget the past and forget what happened in many of the countries of your heritage. And as policymakers today, I think it's important that we keep that in mind where we're going forward and how we think about Europe and think about our relationships with the countries today. We have here ambassadors that are among the closest allies of the United States, countries to which we had the moral courage to stand up and not recognize the occupation of during the Cold War, and who have had, now that they and their independence and sovereignty have had the strength and determination to be strong allies of the United States. And I think that's something that we can't take for granted. We need to invest and cultivate. And it's by the activities of folks, of many of you, by remembering days like today, that helps us keep in mind the right trajectory, the right compass for our policy today. I don't have the powerful stories that all of you have about how some of your relatives, some of you yourself suffered as victims of communism. But I did grow up in a small town in rural North Carolina where my best friend at the time was a Romanian child whose father was a dissident from the Ceausescu era. And at a very young age, living in rural North Carolina, I came to know what communism meant and how evil it could be and how it destroyed the family of my best friend growing up in North Carolina. And I've kept that with me close through my heart as I've done policy throughout much of my career. And that's why I'm so proud to know many of you, to work with many of you, and look forward to times when we can look back on this dark chapter of history and be so proud of what you've accomplished and where we're going together. So thank you very much for gathering today. I'm honored just to be a part of it. Thank you.
And before we conclude, if there's anybody else who would like to say just a few words, to remember somebody, or to place flowers, you have that opportunity to do that now. And then we'll just, I think, maybe beginning with the folks who spoke, the ambassadors, to come and do a picture, and then we'll all turn around and we'll have everybody in the picture. So if the ambassadors would, I think we'll turn around.